on the show. He is your Impact World Heavyweight Champion, plus a collector of even more belts, and he may add to that array of belts that he's been holding on to, and that is the great Austin Aries. Austin, how are you today?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How's everything?
Good, man. How are you? How is this tour of Australia?
Oh, it was awesome, man. It's second tour now with World Series Wrestling, and this one was even better than the last one. Crowds were all up, sold out. Had a great crew. Had the Young Bucks, Marty Skrull, a lot of great local talent, and Adrian Monero runs a really good ship there. So it's always a great time. Treats us with respect, hospitality, professionalism. It's a good little thing he's got going there.
Hey, Austin, as Low-Key would say, who did you fight when you were out there?
Oh man, it was some real tough fights. I was warming up by chopping the concrete wall as hard as I could, just to make sure everybody knew I meant business. Who did I? I faced off with Brian Cage the first night. He had earned a shot at the championship the previous tour, and then we had a really cool 6-man tag that really right now I don't think you'd be able to see anywhere else. You had the Briscoe brothers, the ROH World Tag Champs, teaming up with Austin Aries, Impact World Champ, taking on the Young Bucks and Marty Skrull. And the Young Bucks have just won the WSW, which is the Australian Promotions Tag Team Championship. So that was a pretty cool matchup that you might not be able to see anywhere else. And then he got in there one-on-one with Marty, and then worked Brian again the last night. So a lot of fun.
Let me ask you a question. You just brought up Brian Cage, and before you came on, we were actually talking about him, and we were talking about relatability in the wrestling business. So I'd like to get your opinion. Back in the day, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the Brian Cage body type was widely accepted by wrestling fans around the world. But today he seems to be like in the minority. Why do you think wrestling fans can relate better to a Daniel Bryan these days than a Brian Cage?
Look at him.
Okay.
I think there's two kinds of appeals when it comes to wrestling, right? I think there's the larger than life character, the guy I could never be, right? When most people look at a Brian Cage, that's something they could never be, right? Like in their mind. So there's an allure to that they live vicariously through that guy, or they're drawn to him. I think that more recently the guys that people identify with that they say I could be that guy, and I think if you look at someone like a Daniel Bryan, I think Kevin Owens has that appeal and why he's very popular. Even a James Ellsworth, if you want to go there, but there's a large section of people that look at that and go, wow, like I can identify with that person like that. Like he looks kind of like I do. He's not 260 pounds of muscle. Like he looks kind of like a normal person, and that kind of superhero, for lack of a better term, definitely appeals to people at that level.
Austin, talk about being, the Impact World Heavyweight Champion and coming to Impact. Before it was TNA, you're a TNA Heavyweight Champion, where that company was then, and now it's a completely different company as Impact, and you're actually seeing now a spike in the ratings the last month or so. What's it like being with Impact right now?
It's weird. It's completely different, right? I mean, it's got the lineage, but when you're looking at the people now who are spearheading, trying to direct that company in the way it's going to do its business, what the product's going to look like on television, it's really just a different mindset and a different group of people that's ever really been there. There was always kind of some common threads that were always kind of weaved in, no matter what regime was there within the company, and that's kind of gone now. And you got some fresh eyes, some new ideas and new mindsets on how to really, do business the right way. And I know when I talked with them about coming back there, that was really my thing, was that they had to kind of repair some relationships and spread some goodwill because of the way things have been done for so long there. And obviously it's going to take time for them to right that ship. Nobody's going to just overnight think that things have changed, but I think as we're seeing, things are moving in the right direction. There's some exciting things they're doing. We got some cool stuff going on with Lucha Underground, kind of cross-promoting that way. Trying to work with companies and kind of work together to kind of create something that's cool, unique, And really with the wrestling landscape right now, it makes a lot of sense, you know.
I think it was a good idea for Lucha Underground and Impact to get together to put on this, joint show during WrestleMania weekend. Are you wrestling on that show?
Yeah, I think they just announced yesterday, and I'm actually wrestling earlier that day too for Crash Lucha, and I'm wrestling Penta Zero M. And then that night, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be Penta and Alberto versus myself in Phoenix. So,
and that's on the joint show, correct?
That's on the joint show. Yeah, that'll be the main event of the joint show. So that's kind of a unique thing where they're going to put one of the top Lucha stars with one of the top Impact stars on opposite sides. And obviously, I've got now a little issue with the Alberto El Patron, so that'll obviously tie into there too. So that'll be cool. Again, creating matchups and moments that could be once in a lifetime type of situations. Kind of like me walking out, at the 60th anniversary show, right? Like just kind of surprising people and doing things that maybe historically people wouldn't think could happen in pro wrestling. That now we're finding that as the landscape's changing, almost anything's possible.
And you talk about that landscape. How about the freedom that you now have where you can pretty much go wherever you want? You have, you're the belt collector, so you can go to Ring of Honor in their 16th anniversary show and call out Kenny King and say, I've never held that Ring of Honor TV title. What's it like having this freedom now?
I'm just really grateful, right? I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in a position to have it. It's been important to me when I've been talking to different companies about working with them that's something that, is part of the equation. And not just for me. I think what you're seeing is, the places that really let talent kind of drive the bus, that trust the right talent to really flourish and do their thing, are successful. So for me to be able to go around and try to, I'm going to add a moniker. I want to call myself the bridge builder, right? Contrary to burning bridges my whole career, some people would like to think. I'm trying to reach out and get in places to work together. When you looked at what we did over in England with Defiant and IPW UK, and me coming in both of those places, and then them kind of collectively, putting something together creatively that was kind of intriguing. The ROH show, just be able to show up there and as you said, the television championship is one I've never held there. So for me to come out and make a challenge for that was something, again, that a lot of people didn't see happen. It was a cool surprise.
Austin, out of obviously right now, being the Impact World Heavyweight Champion, I'm sure it takes precedent over everything else. What is your schedule like with you walking into Ring of Honor in Vegas? Is that match actually set yet with you and Kenny?
I haven't heard back. I haven't heard back any confirmation that my challenge is going to be accepted. I hope that's the case. I think there's some times, some places that can make a lot of sense if that's something that Kenny wants to do and the company wants to do. And obviously, I'm sure I know him and Silas right now have been kind of feuding and really been kind of going back and forth. So I'm just kind of interjecting myself in there. We'll see what happens with that. And and I did read and hear some feedback from people saying that having the Impact World Champion, and I will say it's not the Heavyweight Championship anymore. I rebranded it. It's just the Impact World Championship because I'm not a heavyweight. I've never qualified quite as a heavyweight, but we won't put any weight limitations on the World Championship. I just say if you're world class, you can go for the World Championship. But a lot of people saying that coming in as the World Champion and challenging for quote unquote a mid card belt makes Impact look bad. And I think that right now I'm kind of independently going around collecting whatever belts I so choose. And two, that's when I haven't held there. I've already held the ROH World Championship a couple of times. I thought I'd start with something I haven't touched yet.
It's interesting what you just said, that you now renamed that Impact World Heavyweight Championship just the World Championship, because it's so true. If you look at boxing, what do you think of? You think of Floyd Mayweather, not a heavyweight. Sure. UFC, Conor McGregor, he's the biggest star, not a heavyweight. So that's very interesting that you did that. I think that's a great idea.
Well, I just think in wrestling, like if we were gonna have weight limits or restrictions, then we should abide by them. and and we never really have. And unfortunately, the stigma within the professional wrestling world is that if you're less than heavyweight, you're less than as a performer in most cases, except for the exceptions to that rule. But the rule has always been that's always been perceived as less than. And, that's why for me it was important to say, hey, I'm not 225 pounds. I'm not a heavyweight. I'm not even 206 pounds, And but yeah, I think it's just, again, another way to kind of just start maybe, for Impact Wrestling, getting some identity and doing things a little differently.
It's interesting to hear you say that about the championship, because in doing business with you over the years, whether it was me and you straight up or watching you do business with other people, you always conducted yourself more like a heavyweight. So, can you?
That. I mean, I had to, right? otherwise, I would have been pigeonholed as just a cruiserweight, and that was, so. And that's the thing, is that not every guy I want to say undersized, not every non-heavyweight guy can translate and believably be in the ring with guys that are much larger than them. So it's not something that works across the board for everybody, but I think for the right guys and the right opponents, it absolutely works. And there's certain guys, like we just talked about, Daniel Bryan, who no one's ever really questioned that he can get in there and compete against a larger guy just from a psychological and physical standpoint. He has the tools to do it.
Do you at this stage in your career, do you enjoy working, wrestling, fighting, whatever, guys that are more your style or completely opposite to your style?
Probably opposite. I probably enjoy more opposite to my style, right? I always tell Tommy that, with House of Hardcore, I was like, hey, Tommy, I want to wrestle you. I want to do stuff that I haven't done. I don't want to always go out there and be the quote unquote good match guy and go have the work rate match. I like to, and I've always prided myself in being able to go in there and adapt to whoever I'm wrestling. Some guys, they have their style and guys adapt to them. And I like to think that I'm a guy that can adapt to anybody else's style. And that for me is fun, because it brings out different parts of my personality, my character, my arsenal, my thought process of how I would compete in the ring. And so yeah, I think for me right now, that's probably a little more enjoyable. But obviously then when you step in there with guys that maybe have more your skill set, then you can kind of put on those type of matches that maybe a certain portion of fans would rather see.
Here with Impact World Champion Austin Aries, and Austin, we've talked a lot about on this show, and you just mentioned the name before, Daniel Bryan. And what was going through your head when you heard that Daniel Bryan's got cleared and is making his return to the WWE?
Yeah, well, so I was in Australia, so obviously the time thing was way off, so I wasn't necessarily kind of right on top of everything. So I think it was really when I was flying back that I kind of was catching up on stuff and saw it. And I was surprised, because I don't think anybody really had heard too many whispers about it, which in this day and age is kind of doesn't happen too often. But I mean, listen, it's awesome. I'm a huge Bryan fan, always have been. I've learned a lot from him over the years, getting to work with him in the ring, and just I think he's phenomenal, good person, great at what he does, loves what he does, and the fact that he gets to get back in there and do something that he does better than just about anybody else on the planet is only good for the industry as a whole, and obviously is wonderful for him and his family.
How many times did you get to work with him?
Man, a ton. Especially in that early Ring of Honor stage for me when I was kind of coming in. He was already one of the more established names and guys that they were kind of building upon. And so he was really a guy that when I started stepping in there, because, up to that point, and the cool thing about Ring of Honor there is you had this collection of guys that were kind of a high skill level. We were all still relatively green in some ways, but you could see all the talent potential there and maybe just being a little ahead of the curve. So for a guy like me coming out of, my territory, stepping in the Ring of Honor in early, 2004, was a chance to start working with guys who were better than me, and that's always huge, right? And guys who come from different backgrounds and different styles. So we wrestled quite a bit. We did the 2 out of 3 falls, 76 minute, match, testing the limit. We've done some, stuff in survival of the fittest. We were a tag team for a while, which was a lot of fun. I was in the ring quite a bit with Brian, and it was always a pleasure.
Austin, your book Food Fight's been out for a while, and just judging from what I've seen on the internet and social media, you've turned some people around with your plant-based diet. Was that the goal when you wrote that book, or did you just want to get your story out there?
I think it's probably a mix of both, right? I mean, I believe enough in the merits of a plant-based diet, but I think if people had the information, people make that transition to some degree, even if it's not 100% by themselves. So, but yeah, it really was to kind of just get my story out there. But as I said, encountering different people over the years, whether it was my family, whether it was fans, whether it was colleagues or friends, it was a lot of the same questions or same misnomers that were being repeated over and over again. And so I had the opportunity to kind of like just answer them all in a book and tell my story of, why I ended up where I did as being a completely plant-based athlete, and showing people too that you can abstain from animal products and kind of contributing to cruelty and to a lot of the other negative impacts that our meat and dairy industry has, especially at this corporate level. It's not our grandma and grandpa's farms anymore. That you can do those things, you can abstain and still be successful, still be an athlete, still have muscle, still be cool. At least some people think I'm cool. Some people, think I'm an asshole. But I'm certainly not some. I'm certainly not some like patchouli smelling tree hugger. The typical vegan that you're thinking of, right? So, yeah. So just that. So and yeah, it has a lot of people have said that it's at least opened their eyes to start looking at their food choices differently. And that was really what it's about. It wasn't about telling anybody to go vegan. It was about, hey, what we eat every day is a huge choice and a huge decision. I don't think we put much thought into what we're putting in our body a lot of times.
It's funny, Austin, while you were saying that, I live in Jersey, and Jersey's known as the Garden State. And I remember growing up, there was farms everywhere around me, and like none of those farms are around anymore. So when you said it's not your grandmother and grandfather's farm, it's so true. It hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah, it really is. And the funny thing is about veganism is no matter which direction, which talking point you want to take it, there's a lot of merit behind it. Whether you want to go into the environmental issues, you want to go into the health issues, or you want to go into the just overall kind of animal cruelty issues. When you really start peeling back layers, you really start questioning who made this decision that this is how we should be feeding ourselves, and then raising that food in the manner that we do.
Austin, what's next for you?
The people making the money, by the way, that's the answer to the question.
No, of course.
Money by us being sick and anyway.
And no, it's bad. I mean, people have had health issues based on that. So I'm glad you brought attention to that. I really am.
Well, I just put up something not long ago, just on my Instagram, and it said, in the United States, they take billions of our tax dollar money. We don't have a choice in this. They just take billions of our tax dollar money and they give it to the dairy industry to help prop it up with subsidiaries and things like that. And then in turn, the dairy industry costs us billions of dollars in healthcare money by making us sick. Like, what a great racket, right? Like, what a work. Like, we're going to take your money, we're going to help this industry, give you stuff. We're going to tell you it's good for you. It's going to make you sick. And then you're going to spend more of your money to get healthy. Genius.
When did you become aware of all this, Austin? Were you like this all your life? I don't remember you for the amount of time I've known you. Have you always been vegan?
So I stopped eating meat in 2000, which was the same year, right when really a couple months into my training, I stopped. I went vegetarian. And then just, over the years as I kind of started actually having an interest in learning more about this, it was a slow transition. And I would say 7 years ago is when I really strictly got rid of all the dairy, all the eggs, and then really started looking for things like gelatin or all these other like animal byproducts that you don't even realize are in a lot of your foods. So 7 years ago is when I kind of got strict and cut everything out. Yeah. Is there ever a time when you have a slip up? Like you just went to Australia. Was it difficult to maintain your diet over there, or did you have to bring everything with you? No, Australia's actually like one of the it's got like 4 like the top like 10 cities in the world or something for veganism, which I was surprised. Like Melbourne and Sydney were amazing. No, it's funny, like I just went to Peru last month, and we went to Machu Picchu, and I found vegan places each like in these small little towns. Like it's really not hard. Like and I should say that, but I've also learned, and I know what I'm looking for, and I've done, and it's a lifestyle. So it's no different than you come prepared. I always have some food packed, but right now, like it really seems that more than ever, especially in the last 5 years, there's really a growing market, and really no matter where I've been, for the most part, I can usually find some option. And if not, I always like to have some food with me. I've got a good meal prep company called Trifecta. Here out of California that sends me some meals every week, so I always have some stuff to take on the road, which is handy. And I think a lot of us do that in the industry, right? We have some type of some meal prep, so when we're on the road, we can kind of eat the way we want to.
We're just a couple weeks out from WrestleMania. You had a fantastic match at last year's WrestleMania. For somebody who's done everything in this industry, what was that WrestleMania experience like for you?
Oh, I mean, it's something you'll never forget, right? Just walking out there and in that atmosphere is something that very few people have the opportunity to do. So, it's something I'm obviously grateful for, and I'll always look back at as one of the kind of pinnacles of my career. One of those moments. You always have those handful of moments that you look back at and realize are special, and that's definitely one of them.
Now that you did it, if you never did it again, would it bother you?
No, because you know what? I don't think it bothered me that I'd kind of reconcile that maybe I'd never do it. I mean, I don't think anybody saw that trajectory for me in 18 months when I signed with that company. And I know before I signed on there, I had kind of reconciled that may have never really been what was meant for me, and I was okay with that. So the fact that I got to do it to me was just kind of, again, was kind of a cherry on top. So I'd love to do it again. I'd love to do it, 10 more times in whatever role, managing somebody for the next 2 decades of my life and walking down in that realm, but if it didn't happen, it wouldn't bother me because it was a special moment and one I'm grateful for, and realize that again, you think of how many talented men and women over the years who have dedicated themselves to this industry who never will have that opportunity. So that's not lost on me for that to be there for me was special, and I'm content with that.
One thing when you were with the WWE that I absolutely loved was your commentating. Any future for that when it comes to your career?
It was a great experience. I enjoyed it. And obviously I was still very new at it, so it was something that I thought, if I ever dedicated myself to, I would have some potential to be pretty good at. And so, I'm open to all those possibilities. I'm no spring chicken anymore. Should I even say that being vegan? I should probably come up with a new phrase. I can't say 2 birds with 1 stone. Like when you really think about kill 2 birds with 1 stone, like that's not very vegan. So I got
it's not very vegan of you.
All these new sayings. It's killing me here, but. Yeah, I'm going to start having to dial it back physically in the ring in the next, decade, obviously. And so you start thinking about, if you want to stay within the industry, what other areas and facets you could be an asset in, and whether it's, as a performer and, again, managerial role, which I think is still an important role in the industry, going into commentating or doing more stuff behind the scenes. That's stuff I'm all interested in.
Dave just had to ask you a question about the commentating, and I also thought you did a great job during commentary. We've had people on the show like JBL who said he had no problem with having Vince or Kevin Dunn in his ear producing them. I know stories of Mick Foley and Taz who said that they had a very hard time being produced. How did you feel about it, having them in your ear while you were trying to tell stories?
So honestly, like really, Michael was in my ear a little bit, and then Vince was I didn't really deal with Kevin a whole lot, but it was really fine for me. I didn't get a lot of, they weren't in my ear a lot, I guess, So, you know, you have to get used to just the traffic in general, just people in your ear, regardless. But then picking out when it's being directed to you and making sure that you're getting those things in there. But no, it really wasn't difficult. And for whatever reason, I seemed to get some leeway to where I really felt that within my whole tenure there, that was the closest that anybody really got to really hearing and seeing like the real me, you know, and my character, because I wasn't really being overly produced or being told what to say or what to do or what not to do.
Wow, great stuff. Again, I hope Kenny King answers your challenge sometime soon, because we want to see you as new.
Hey, Kenny King. I mean, if Silas is feeling like he's, like right now he's deserving, he can join in the fray too. We can all get in there and dance around. And I got respect for Silas. He's from Milwaukee, from my hometown. We've got a history too, so I'm not trying to leave him out of the mix. Whoever wants to come on down, come on. We'll make it a big match. We'll put some prestige on the ROH television tell. That's what I always say. It's not the man that makes the belt, or it's not the belt that makes the man, but it's the man that makes the belt. And it's nice to be able to say. I see some people correcting me on and saying it's a title, and it is a title belt. It's a championship title belt. So you can call them any of those things.
Well, the next time you're in New York, I hope you stop by our studios again, because it's always a treat having you in here, man. Yeah,
man, certainly. But it won't be until it warms up a little bit, because the weather you guys are getting out there is nothing I want a part of. So.
What are you talking about, man? You're freaking from the Midwest. You should be used to this type of weather.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I'm used to it. I can function in it, but there's a reason I've lived in Florida and California and warm weather places most of my adult life. So
I'm jealous.
I like to visit the snow. I don't like to live in it.
Stay in Cali.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for someone from Jersey, please. You're doing the best thing for you. Austin Aries, your Impact World Champion, man. It has been great having you on again. Thank you so much for the time.
Good talking to you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.